Hey, this is Stu Schaefer, and I'm about to explain how if you do the wrong kind of cardio, it can actually make you fat and prevent you from losing weight. Now, I know this sounds crazy, so that's why I decided to make this lesson, because so many women are doing extra cardio, they're doing the wrong kind, too much, too intense, and it actually prevents you from losing weight. In many cases, it can cause you to store fat. So here's what happens. The problem is, if you're doing cardio wrong or the wrong kind, it absolutely can make you store more fat. Now, how does this happen? Well, there's a few main ways. The first way is that it really cranks up your cortisol and stress. So if you're doing the wrong type of cardio, what can happen, especially as a woman, and double especially if you're a woman in midlife or menopause, what happens is your body actually becomes overly sensitive to that stress and cortisol. And while cortisol is required to burn fat, if it's too high or it's high too often, or it just never goes down because you're doing the wrong types of exercise, this will actually have the opposite effect. It'll actually make you store fat or prevent you from burning fat. It'll also have other negative consequences like developing gut issues and other chronic illnesses from those gut issues, in many cases even autoimmune, believe it or not. Now, the other way is that it causes you to burn muscle if you do the wrong kind or you do too much of it. And this will absolutely slow down your metabolism. So what a lot of people do is they'll cut calories, and you know I'm against that. In fact, we're going to talk on the next video the best way to lose weight fast, especially if you're a woman in menopause. And I'm going to specifically talk about this calorie idea and how it came about and why you may want to rethink it. So stay tuned for that. But if you burn muscle by doing a lot of extra cardio because you think that's the best way to burn fat and lose weight, what's going to happen is you're actually going to slow down and wreck your own metabolism. This is why a lot of people then will gain the weight back and then some. And then third is it puts your body into this starvation mode. And the starvation mode is when the body really thinks it's kind of under attack, it's not getting enough food or enough nutrients, and so it goes into this lockdown mode, and instead of burning fat, it holds on to fat, it causes you to store fat, and in many cases, again, you'll keep burning off the muscle, and over time, you'll just keep slowing down your metabolism. I'm going to give you two examples of this. The first example is Robin. And I've talked about Robin before because she was what she called a cardio bunny. She loved the stuff. She could do hours and hours a day. But over time from doing that, she wrecked her body. You can see what her body looked like on the left from doing all sorts of cardio. Now on the right is when we worked together for about 12 weeks, and you can see how much body fat she lost. And we stripped her cardio down to less than 30 minutes, 3 days a week. And she kept arguing with me. She wanted to do an hour a day. And this is a big difference. The body will actually lose more fat and more weight if you do cardio correctly, and you need to do the right type. Now, the other client I had was Carolyn. Okay, now Carolyn was the same way. She had been doing all this cardio and actually had an autoimmune disease. And she had just bought a Peloton and was getting all ready to do all the high-intensity interval Peloton training. And I said, Carolyn, you shouldn't do that. You know, that's preventing you from burning fat. And she said, but I like it and I like how it feels. And I said, look, I know it releases endorphins, but do you want the endorphin release or do you want to lose your body fat? And she said, well, I'd rather lose the body fat. She ended up selling the Peloton because she realized how easy and little cardio she needed to burn off the body fat. And really, she admitted to me, yeah, I guess I didn't like the cardio as much as I thought I did. I just thought that's how you did it. That's what you needed to do to burn off the body fat, and that's not true. So what we're going to look at is how do you do cardio correctly so that you don't make these mistakes that cause you to store fat. And there's a very specific way to do it and a specific type of cardio that you should be doing. I want to just preface this by saying, of all the different ways to lose weight, cardio is probably the worst and least important. So many women especially emphasize cardio, but I personally don't do any. Some of my clients don't do any. Most of my clients do maybe 20 to 30 minutes 3 days a week, very little. And if you're doing it correctly, you just don't need to. And I don't recommend high-intensity cardio. I really don't. So let's look at the 3 variables of cardio here. First, we have intensity. That's how hard it is. That you could measure through your heart rate, okay? And then the second is frequency. Well, how often are you doing it? Are you doing it every day? Are you doing it once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, etc.? And then the last is duration. How long are you doing it for when you do it? Now, intensity and duration are opposite, okay? The more intense the cardio is, the less you're going to be able to do. Now, same with frequency. Intensity and frequency, they're inverse, okay? The harder you do the cardio, the less often you should do it. And also, duration and frequency are also inverse, okay? The longer you do your cardio at each time, the less you should do it. So let me give you some examples. If you just do a full all-out sprint, you're not going to be able to keep that up for very long, maybe a minute or so, okay? If you're walking, you could do that for hours. So that's intensity and duration. What about the frequency? Well, if you were sprinting as hard as you could, doing repeats day after day after day, your body's going to break down too quick because the intensity and the frequency, you can't have both. Likewise, if you're running 12 miles a day or walking, 2-3 hours a day, if you did that every day, your body would break down. So there has to be the sweet spot, and you have to be in the sweet spot. Now, I'm specifically going to explain this for fat loss, for looking your absolute best, burning fat, toning the muscles, and optimizing your health. This includes your body fat, your insulin, your cortisol, your cholesterol, your blood pressure. I mean, really optimizing your health. And this sweet spot is obviously going to be a little bit different for everyone, but I'm going to give you just kind of a ballpark area. So let's look at the intensity first. Women, what intensity, what heart rate should you be doing your cardio at? Well, I've been doing this for 24 years and I've experimented with a lot of different heart rates, and I will tell you, you probably, if you're over the age of 40, you should probably never go above about 125 beats per minute. There's no need to go higher than 125 beats per minute. So somewhere less than 125 is going to be kind of the intensity. Now you're probably thinking, well, what is that? Go outside and walk and measure your heart rate, and you'll probably say, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing anything. Hey, bingo, you got it. That's how easy it can be. What about the frequency? How often should you do this? Well, I probably wouldn't recommend doing it more than 5 or 6 days a week. I would never do it every day. Now, some of you are probably already asking, well, what about if I go to the grocery store or the mall, or I'm just out doing stuff and being active? You're saying I shouldn't do that? No. I'm saying this is like if you're doing cardio, okay? See, now most women will say, I'm going to go for an hour walk. Oh, this is great. Because the more, the better. And I'm going to burn off all this fat. And then the strangest things happen. They can't burn off any fat. So be careful. Or they go, hey, I'm going to wear a weighted vest. This will make it more intense. I'll burn more calories. Then they don't burn fat. Okay? Now, what about the duration? How long should you do it for? I don't recommend doing it longer than 45. And normally I don't recommend doing it longer than 30. So really, there's really no reason to go more than 30 minutes at once. And I would never go more than 45 minutes at once. You just don't need to. At that time, after the 45, you're going to start hitting these risk factors, and they're all going to go up. And so this is why a lot of women especially have a problem, because they're thinking more is better, harder is better. Let me see how many calories I'm burning. Oh, this is great. And then they go, oh, what the crap? Why am I'm not losing weight? I gained weight. How is this possible? What's the matter? This is what's going on. So somewhere in that sweet spot would be maybe every other day for 30 minutes. And that's what my clients do. Every other day for 30 minutes. Some of them only do 20. And you just don't need that much cardio. That's not the best way to burn fat. We're going to talk about the best ways to burn off fat and lose weight fast in the next video. How do you do this? Well, we're going to talk about what's really important, but I felt I needed to make this video because so many women are trying to do all this cardio and HIIT and all this stuff. You don't need it. In fact, it could be hurting you. So stay tuned for our next video, because I'm going to share what is the best way to lose weight fast and burn off fat, especially if you're a woman in menopause. So I will see you there. All right, take care.